Okay, thank you. I'd like to welcome everyone tonight to Nipissing Township Council, Tuesday, May 28th at approximately 6:30 p.m. I'll ask first of all if there's any disclosure of pecuniary interest. Yes. Okay, noted, Councillor. What? We'll let those other guys take a shot at the finances tonight. So what we've decided to do, I believe that's Alana. And she may have kind of nodded. So if that's the case, we'll switch go with pension first and then do our committee reports after. So Alana, if you would like to do your annual update on the Nipissing landfills, the floor will be yours. Can you hear us?
Yes, I can. Thank you. Can you hear me okay?
Sure can. All yours.
Was our presentation slides received? Does everyone have those in front of them?
We do.
Okay, perfect. So I'm also here with Tim McBride. We'll be doing this presentation together to present the 2024 Waste Disposal Site Monitoring Review for the Bear Creek and the Wolf Lake landfill sites in the Township of Nipissing. So I'm the project manager for the landfill monitoring project, and Tim McBride is our practice specialist in hydrogeology and director of Northern Ontario and landfill services. So he provides all of the technical support for this project. So in summary, our agenda for this presentation, we're going to talk about the Bear Creek landfill site first. We'll briefly talk about the 2023 annual monitoring results. We did go into detail about the results at our presentation in November, so we'll just quickly run through those, and then we'll focus on the remaining site capacity since we have the survey results now. And then we will talk about the Wolf Lake Waste Disposal Site, and same thing, we'll talk about the 2023 results and then the remaining site capacity for that site as well. So Tim will speak about the Bear Creek Waste Disposal Site first.
Yeah, certainly. Thanks for the introduction, Alana, and thanks to everyone at Council for inviting us to present our findings from 2023, as well as some of the upcoming work that we have going on with the township we're pretty excited about. So for 2023 for Bear Creek, the current monitoring network, comprises of 6 groundwater monitoring wells and 6 surface water stations. There was a couple of wells that were in a little bit of need of some TLC, so Alana's group went ahead and fixed some of that up. There were some risers that I think had been subject to some frost jacking, so they had to be modified. So those were cut and resurveyed. And then there was a casing, protective steel casing that was damaged, so Alana's group took care of fixing that up for you guys as well. So that's all to keep us in compliance with Regulation 903, which is specific to the condition of wells. So it kind of is a liability, having these wells on these landfill sites. It's needed, it's a necessary evil, but at the same time, it's part of your asset and they have to be maintained. So Alana's group works really hard to try and make sure that you guys stay in compliance in that regard. So yeah, based on the 2023 groundwater and surface water monitoring results, we didn't find anything at the landfill in the either groundwater or surface water media that would suggest that the landfill is having any significant impacts on the surrounding receiving environment. So our recommendations are pretty simple. Continue with the groundwater, surface water, and landfill gas monitoring in the spring and fall of 2024. And that is not because I just love driving up and down Highway 11. That is, a requirement of your license. So we're asking or recommending that you guys just maintain the bare minimum of what is required for your license, because we don't see any need to increase the program at this point in time. However, we do recommend, given that you don't have a scale system or like a waste tracking, like a robust waste tracking system, we do recommend that you do annual topographic surveys of the waste disposal area so that you can keep track of how much garbage is in there. And that really gives you an opportunity to look at, what is your waste deposition rate. And then you can, extrapolate that based on what your remaining airspace is and figure out, do we have 5 years, 10 years, what do we have left, right? So that gets us to the next exciting slide here. So the site is currently approved for 40,000. In 2022, the survey that was done said that you guys had about 12,000 left. Alana's group did a survey in 2023, and she compared the 2022 results to the 2023 results, and the net difference was about 1,200 cubic meters of waste. So that's what you guys are eating up every year. So yeah, with that, we have about 11,000 cubic meters left. So if Alana started to look at the 2-year averages between surveys and figure out what our running average is, we end up taking in about 2,000 cubic meters a year based on the time frame between those last 2 surveys. So yeah, we end up with a remaining lifespan of this site of about 5.5 years, which I know in the world of council sometimes feels like a long time because it sometimes extends past your term, but in the world of landfills and landfill permitting, that is very, very small. So our next step, as most of you know, is to work on the landfill expansion process. So applying for an addendum to the ECA for the expansion is our next step. So we want to increase the volume of the landfill. As I think I alluded to in our last presentation in the fall of last year, there was a change to the regs, and we had to go to the MOE and make sure that that wasn't going to handcuff us. And they did agree that the new change in the reg was specific to larger landfill sites. Smaller landfill sites that are 40,000 cubic meters or less, you're allowed to double your volume without triggering an EA process, which is great because an EA process is really what takes a long time when you're looking at landfill expansions. We still have to do a lot of work. We have to do homework. We don't get to just, do whatever we want and, with blatant disregard for the environment or anything like that. We still have to do our due diligence and make sure that the expansion is going to work and is still viable. So, but under the regulations, technically we could get us up to 80,000 if we could make it fit in there. So the next steps for Bear Creek expansion, we have to do, so Alana's finished her surveys for 2023. We now know what our waste deposition rate annually is. So that's going to feed into it. And based on that, we can express to the ministry what kind of service life, expanding the site by 40,000 cubic meters would give us. They do have limits on that, on site life. They don't like to give expansions for more than 30 years. So we're well within that with the rates that Alana's developed. So part of the process has changed a little bit. Back in the day, you used to do your application up and you would send it into the approvals branch in Toronto. And then the approvals branch would come back to the district office of the MECP, and they would give it to the officers and see if they had any concerns with how you guys were running the site before they expanded it. And they'd give it to the technical experts and see if there was any issues from their point of view. Nowadays, the onus is on the proponent to go to the district office first and kind of get their buy-in. In addition, we have to go to the area or district specialists like the hydrogeologists and the surface water specialists and make sure that they're in agreement with what we're proposing. And essentially, once we get their sign off, At that point in time, we would go to the approvals branch in Toronto with a design and operations plan of how we're proposing to expand it, and a formal ECA application. And then the approvals branch, with all the sign-offs already at the local level, would, be able to push it through, I say quicker, but it does take, more than a year to get through this process. What we can do in parallel to that, though, is, like I said, you don't have to do a full EA process, but there are some things you need to do still to expand this landfill. One is you have to send letters out to all the adjacent property owners and tell them that it's your intention to expand the landfill. And there's some other letters that you probably want to send out as well, just to be good neighbors type of thing. So we can do that all as things are running. So really our next big step is to try and set up a consultation with your officer as a minimum. If we can get the senior technical experts from the MECP to join as well, that's great. But really we'll be leaning on your officer to see if they will kind of be our champion to help us push it through the technical experts in the region. Yeah, and anyway, so that's the process, and that's where we're at. When we do that consultation, I would really like a representative for the township to be with us. So we'll have to chat with staff, after this call, if everyone's in agreement with the proposed approach, so that we can set up that meeting and have somebody from the township at the table with us, if that's what you want. That would be my recommendation, just so there's that continuity throughout the project. Alana, did I forget anything, or did I get it all? You're happy? Okay. As long as you're happy, everyone's happy. All right, so Alana, I don't know if you can see, I'm sharing my screen, so if you want, I can, I'll just manage the slides for you.
Sure, thanks.
Okay.
So for the Wolf Lake Waste Disposal Site, the current monitoring network consists of 10 wells and 3 surface water locations. And similar to Bear Creek, we also repaired some wells at this site by adjusting the PVC risers so that the lids could close properly and bring those wells back into compliance with OREG 903, like Tim discussed. Next slide. So the results of the Wolf Lake monitoring, we did identify some impacts near the site, but based on the water quality at the wells further down gradient, closer to the property boundary, it's apparent that the contamination is attenuating with distance down gradient from the site, and is in compliance at the site property boundary, so the site is operating as designed. So our recommendation for this year was just to continue with the regular annual monitoring program, as well as to continue completing the regular annual topographic surveys of the site to help estimate the remaining capacity. So for the Wolf Lake site, the total current allowed volume is 54,770 cubic meters. As of 2022, there was estimated to be 41,990 cubic meters of remaining space. And then in comparing the 2022 survey to the 2023 survey, it indicated that 2,985 cubic meters of waste was placed at the site during 2023. So the estimated remaining space as of 2023 was 39,000. And based on the average fill rate, that would result in a remaining lifespan of 14 and a half years. But it should be noted that this remaining lifespan does not account for once the Bear Creek landfill closes. If we didn't do the expansion after the 5.5 years, all that waste would be diverted to this landfill as well, and then that would end up shrinking the lifespan of this landfill too. So that's it for our summary, and we can open it up to any questions.
Anyone have any questions? Steve?
Bear Creek. What is the estimated timeline for the expansion proposal to be completed? Roughly.
I would like to see if we could have it done by September of 2025. But in all honesty, some of that is beyond our control, right? Like the ministry really controls the time frame there. But if we do everything we can to put the documents in their hands, you know, at that point in time, they do have it's kind of a secret. They never tell us what it is, but they do have a service window, right? So usually when you get them a file, they push for it to get through within a certain time frame. Because Alana and I have both experienced where they've come back to us and said, "Oh, you know, like we have this one little comment. Can you address this comment so that we can close off this file within our service window?" So, like I said, I think by September of 2025, if we could have everything in their hands, we'd be in really good shape.
Okay, that's you're optimistic short time, or is that generally what you expect?
No, I think that's what we can expect. To be honest, like I guess the other piece of the puzzle, it depends on how engaged your environmental officer is and whether or not they truly act as our champion, right? So I'd like to encourage them to help us and work with us and work with the township to achieve this goal. There's been a real, as of late, there's been a real cooperative approach with the ministry for some landfill expansions, especially in Northern Ontario, with these, you know, what we call smaller sites. So yeah, as long as we engage them early and we get the process rolling, I think that by September of 2025 is doable.
And you're looking at a doubling of the site?
If we can fit it in there, right? Like there are some limitations with the property and the way that it's shaped. Like certain landfill standards have to be adhered to. Like we have to maintain a certain buffer from the road. We have to maintain a certain buffer from property lines. We have to maintain a certain buffer from surface water features. The other things that could come in that throw a loop in it is we also have to maintain a buffer from potable wells. So if there was a property next door that had a well drilled on it, we have to maintain a buffer from that. So what we do is generally a mapping exercise. We take your site and we start to apply all these buffers to it, and it really starts to shrink what our available space is. And then we see if the 80,000 would fit in that, because the other piece is you can't just make a mountain to the sky, right? It has to be 4-to-1 side slopes with a 20-to-1 crown. So as long as we could adhere to the generic design criteria that's in OREG 232, that's the design standards for landfills. Yeah, if we can get it up to 80, I'll push it to 80. And I think that's the best thing to do, to be honest. Like you don't want to go in for 60 now and then in 10 years from now go back and say, hey, I want to go up to 80, because maybe the game has changed then, right? So right now the opportunity is there for us to go to 80. I think we should push it to 80.
Well, yeah, pushing it to 80, it still takes us underneath the environmental impact study, right?
Correct. Yeah.
But it's the other site that will potentially cause to trigger that, right?
Well, the other site, with that new amendment that came through in August, there is a potential there that we can increase that capacity by 25% without triggering. So, I mean, that site is only 55,000, I think Alana said. So, you know, if we increase that by 25%, that's another 13,000, let's say roughly. So it would still give us a couple more years, you know, it would give us another 7 years. We could potentially expand that one as well. Yeah, so I mean, that's up to you guys if you wanted us to explore that at the same time. Or maybe we hold that one in our back pocket in case we run into a roadblock with Bear.
You have to send letters out to the people that live next to the dump. Is there so many meters away from the landfill? Or is it just the people right next to it?
I think it's just adjacent properties. Yeah. And it's not even if they're like it could be vacant land too. Like if it's vacant land, we have to send a letter to whoever owns it.
Yeah, thank you.
We can craft, sorry, we can craft that letter for you. And we can, you know, you guys can put that on township letterhead. And if you guys can pull those adjacent property owners from the tax roll or something like that, that's something that you guys can do in order to help control costs as well. But yeah, Alana can prep that letter for you. She knows what it needs to contain. So
You mentioned a township rep should be there. Is that staff or council?
typically I do it with staff, but I have done communities where we have a waste management committee, where we have both a staff and a council rep available. So again, that's up to you. I'm open to whatever you guys want to do. I'll be honest with you. Sometimes it's quicker for me if I just deal with staff because I know council, you guys have a lot of competing priorities, right? So, but again, I'm here to work for you guys. Whatever you guys want, we can make it happen.
That was a nice way of saying it, Tim. Thanks. Any other questions for Tim or Alana?
Everything got answered.
Okay, well, thank you ever so much for the information, and I know staff will be looking forward to talking to Alana in the near future to get those letters out, and we'll move on from there.
Wonderful. Yeah, thanks for having us. I always enjoy talking with you guys, and Alana did want to come down and do it in person, but I think you guys are trying to keep us at arm's length. So
Not at all, but thank you ever so much for tonight, and we look forward to looking at that expansion and moving on from there.
wonderful. All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay. So we will move on after that shift to committee reports. Pardon? Oh, yes, Jillian can, of course you can. I thought she would just make the most of it. That's it. But please feel free, and thank you for being here for that.
Thank you.
Thank you. So we'll start with committee reports, and we'll start with Councillor Yam.
I do have one there, Piper. We had a quick cemetery board meeting on Friday morning just to approve 3 ground marking stones. They're a little different than what we're used to installing or having put in, but we approved them and I think they'll be fine. We all agree they'd be fine.
Okay,
Thank you.
good, thank you. Councillor Foot.
I do. I had the EMS committee, so we had that this week. It was rather short, so short and sweet. We talked a lot about the 2024 financials, which are balanced. What they are doing though is they're doing a review on all of the financials to confirm. Just dot the i's and cross the t's and make sure everything's good to go. Long-term care community paramedicine program has been extended for 2 years. So that's a happy dance for that, although there's no funding increase. So they're working off, they have a funding of $904,000. There's no increase, that pays all wages and pays for everything, right? But what they've managed to do is they've adjusted budgets elsewhere to make it happen. So they did some moving around. coming soon, and it's end of life. All the defibrillators and all of the ambulances are at their end of life. So they all need to be replaced, so they're working on that right now, so I'm sure that's gonna impact future forward. If we were talking about the drones program, they have looked into it. That'll be something we look at future forward, because they need to get Transport Canada involved. Because there's so big and everything going on, so look at that future forward. And then last thing is target times. Talked a lot about target times. All the target times are good, and on response, all the levels are good. The only real concern future forward is the summer and remote can cause a problem. So as it stands right now, life is good, and they're hitting those times, and we'll just move forward and go from there. Really short, really sweet.
Thank you. And there'll be some mention of that when we go on to the District of Parry Sound Municipal Association, because they had a presentation there as well. So we'll go on to Councillor Scott.
I didn't have any meetings, I was with the senator.
Okay, and Councillor Curtin. Okay, I had last Tuesday and Wednesday, Pines reviewed the projects planned for the summer season. There are 8 proposed projects, beginning with architectural drawings for new patios, drainage repairs to the back of the building, painting upgrades, siding, and possibly door upgrades. A report on the possibility of Pines 2, but it's still in the distance, still in the works. They have begun apartment inspections. They do 5 at a time. And every time they do, then they end up having to change all the appliances and that kind of thing. But so far, we had new stoves supplied by Enbridge and new refrigerators. So that worked out well, and they went over the transaction reports, income statements, and the next meeting is the annual general meeting on June 18th. And we went to an East Hill meeting on Wednesday, May 22nd. Funding announcement. And it's always interesting the way the government, there was a funding increase for level of care, which was great. However, they took the money away that they had for nurse practitioner and rolled it into the other one. So they give you, let's say they give you 10 and take 8 away. So you have to be careful when you say funding increase. The really good thing that community support services did their quarterly report. They had their annual reconciliation audit, and the ministry was amazed at how effectively our community support services work on so little. And they actually said that. So we took that and said, well, then you're going to fund us more. And they went, no, we're going to have other communities come here to find out how they can work with less. So it didn't work out. It didn't work out the way we expected. But again, congratulations to them. And it's just interesting how the government works. Now, our audit from ISIP, and that's the building grant, was completed, but we're requesting a meeting May 30th to go over building and technology issues which haven't been resolved. They have individual thermostats in the room, and the thermostats are set at 22 degrees. I found this interesting. So as soon as the seniors jack it over 22 degrees, the air conditioning comes on. So they just jack it higher to try to get it warmer, and they put it up to 30. Then the air conditioning comes on and fires it back down to 22 degrees. And now you've got 2 systems working against each other. So they've got to come in now. I mean, the easy one was just lock up the thermostat, but you can't do that anymore. So now they have to work with the provider. So, PR, whatever, will be in to look at that after our meeting on the 30th. Also, housing program. We still have issues covering all shifts with staff. And we lose workers to the hospital because the hospital offers higher wages, because the hospital will run a deficit. So they'll run a deficit. We can't run a deficit. So they run a deficit and they'll pay $3 an hour more. They run their deficit and then they'll apply to the government. The government will give them one-time funding every year and take away the deficit. So our people go, hey, hospital's $3 an hour more, sayonara, and away they go. And they had really good news. They had hired 9 new nurses last month. 8 left to go to the hospital. So it's an issue. So because of that, and the same with PSWs, we are going to bring in, we had a 2-year contract with our international workers. That 2 years is up. Some have stayed, but many of them now want to bring their families. We have no housing in any of these areas, housing for families. So they will probably leave. So now we have out for 16 more workers to come beginning 1st of July. And again, we have to try to provide them housing. So we have gone to 2 houses, 3 houses that we're using plus Meadowview. And we were invited to go and look at the Tozanje Group Home, formerly Eads. And they were offering us the top floor there. We could put 16 people in there, but we're holding off for now and gonna try to go with locals in the meantime. And that was the other thing. We had to pay for 16 rooms up front, but these people come 2 in, maybe 2 in July, 3 in the next, and we won't have 16 till December. So we would have had to pay for 5 months with maybe 1 person in there. So we're holding off. So no commitments at this time. There was a municipal tour with 4 attendees last Thursday and volunteer appreciation this Thursday. And unfortunately, those are Nipissing soccer nights, so won't be there. Maintenance, they need a new hot water tank. I said, so what? A new hot water tank costs $20,000. They have 3 of them, so they need a new one. And the phone system upgrade underway, policy upgrades on critical incidents and outbreak management. And our next meeting is June 19th. So that's it for East Home. And if there's nothing else, we'll move on. We could mention that some of us went to the District of Parry Sound Municipal Association the Friday before a long weekend. The one thing I got out of it was that the Minister of Infrastructure, the Honorable Kinga Surma, was there. And I guess cutting through everything, they did point out how much money they've given, how, 100,000 for this and, 2 billion for this and whatever. But what they did say is in the next 2 months, approximately, they're gonna come out with another $1 billion for infrastructure. And we spoke to them there. I said, well, we'll give you your application for this bridge right now. Well, we don't do it that way. I said, but we have it, so we'll give it to you. No, you can, so it seems that we'll be at the AMO conference and make a delegation at that time and ask them, but we did that 4 years ago. I guess we're up again. And, but now the bridge incident is more critical. Steve?
Well, we did get that offer from somebody from Phenom to assist.
Yes,
So-
we did indeed.
That,
We have lots of support locally.
Yeah, so we had that and they talked about the waterways, they talked about municipal staff retention, but they didn't really say a lot.
It was an interesting presentation, but there wasn't a lot of usable data.
And then poor Tom Smith for the EMS program got the last spot. So he was the last one on a Friday afternoon before a long weekend, but he did a really good job.
Yep.
And it's a great program. I think the only question was, how do you sign up? And they went, no, you just can't sign up. Doctors refer you when you go like that. But if there's anything that either of you want to add,
I think it's just a great program.
it looks good and it saves a ton of money. And Graydon Smith, the MPP for Parry Sound Muskoka, he spoke positively, but again, not ours. And this Ms. Surma, she was really, really excellent too. And it gives you hope, but we've had that dash before, so we will see. So we have a date, I think, for,
We haven't applied for our delegation at this time. We were still gathering information, but with the latest events that have happened, we have a lot of information now.
so,
We'll be moving forward. We're working with Blossom on the information.
okay. Anything else?
Now, are the delegates going down there, we're gonna be kept in the loop on how the process is going?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I thought it'd be just simpler when we ask her there in the Emsdale Library. They have a beautiful building in Emsdale. And I said, you know, we could just do it now. But I don't know, government, go figure. So we'll have our chance in August. So anyway, we'll move ahead now to number 4. And landfill procedural changes, but we're still gathering, so.
Well, we're getting a lot of the surveys in, and there's been a lot of different information coming in on the surveys. So I'd like to move that to after the town hall meeting so that we're bringing all of the ideas forward at once. There've been some interesting suggestions for changing the landfill hours to staying with the 4-day week, but moving it to a Thursday, Saturday for Wolf Lake, Friday, Sunday for Bear Creek, so they don't lose the stat holiday for the Wolf Lake landfill every time. So that's something that the staff is happy with as well. Lots of different little changes. So there's some really good information coming back on the surveys that we'll bring back after the town hall.
Okay. So now we go to number 5. So I need a mover and a seconder. You two again, eh? Perfect. And I do thank you. It's number R 2024-116, moved by Councillor Yam, seconded by Councillor Foot, that the minutes of the regular council meeting held May 14th, 2024 be adopted as published. All in favor? Carried.
Next one is the truck. I believe Dan is recommending the GMC. So
Okay, I'm gonna ask for a mover and seconder, and then I'll ask Dan. So Councillor Scott and Councillor Kirky. So Dan, do you want to speak to this?
Yeah, thanks, Mayor Piper. Yes, we're recommending the GMC for price for one. There's quite a bit difference. And availability on the truck.
So this will come in earlier?
Yeah, that they have it on the lot and by the time we do whatever we gotta do, it'll be in service like in 20 days.
And you mentioned that the other one has a safety that you,
Yeah, our 2015, I don't think it'll pass safety, so I don't wanna put a bunch of money into a truck that we're gonna get rid of, so if we can get the GMC sooner, it'd be a good thing for us.
okay. Any other questions for Dan? Okay, Read the resolution, it's number R 2024-117, moved by Councillor Scott, seconded by Councillor Turkey, that we award RFP PW1 2024 for the purchase of a 3/4 ton crew cab 4x4 pickup truck to Bray Motors GMC. Total cost without applicable taxes, $73,442, with purchase of extended warranty of $6,300 plus applicable taxes. All in favor? Carried. Okay, these next ones are all tenders. So a mover and seconder, okay. Councillor Foot and Councillor. Yeah. It's number R 2024-118, moved by Councillor Foot, seconded by Councillor Yam, that we award Nipissing Public Works 2024 for delivery and stockpile of winter sand, 2,500 tons to Miller Paving at a cost of $69,212.50, including applicable taxes. And you'll see the number of tenders received, and that's why I guess we're going with Miller Paving. So any comments or questions? All in favor? Carried. Mover and seconder, I'm looking your way, thanks. Councillor Kirky and Councillor Scott. It's number R 2024-119, moved by Councillor Kirky, seconded by Councillor Scott, that we award tender Nipissing Public Works 2024 for delivery and stockpile of 7/8 crushed quarry granite, 2,500 tons, and crushed quarry B granite, 1,500. That is tons, right?
Yep.
Tons to Evan Hughes Excavating, 7/8 crushed quarry, 2,500, and 45,991. Crushed quarry B granite, 1,500, 27,594.60. Any comments or questions? All in favor?
I have a comment.
Oh, yep.
I think that's way too much to inch to have in our yard sitting on the ground year after year.
I mean, I used like Ponderosa when it blew out, I had a stockpile of the yard to fill in the, you know, the washout. And when we do Frosties, we use that quarry D. And culverts, like we're constantly using it. It just,
Like, we've got a pile in the yard that's been there since 2020 with trees growing out of it.
no, I restockpiled that about 2 years ago.
So there's none,
We have a little bit left, about 1,000 ton left, but we run through that pretty quick.
okay.
I mean,
I just think it's a lot of 2-inch for 1 year. The taxpayers are paying for that all in one shot. And there's 2-inch quarry everywhere around our township. There's 4 quarries with it.
yeah, when I got a washout at midnight where like I have my guys to grab
Small
it.
stockpile in the yard, but like that'll be 2,500 ton with that 1,000.
Mhm. Like, I think we should have it, but
I've never in my life seen that much 2-inch anywhere in an MTO yard or in any municipality. I don't know. I just think it's a lot of money out. If we got 1,000 left from 2020, it's paid for.
but it's not like the money's, I mean, if I don't need it next year, I don't have to get any. It's not like it's gonna go bad.
Will it go, does it usually go up in price? Like,
It goes up the price every year. So,
We not have discussed this in budget.
Well, we only budgeted 40,000 for stockpile.
each
this?
A and B is in the budget.
So this is
Budgeted
already in
80.
budget?
So on mine, I've got quarried gravel stockpile material, $40,000.
There's 2 lines. There's stockpile B, which was 40. And what's the quarried gravel here, 40? So we approved 80. There's 2 different lines, that's, I'm going by the Baker one, I don't have that one with me, that was just the presentation. So I have the 2 different account lines that's included, and they're listed at the bottom.
Anyhow, in my opinion, that's an awful lot of money to have out for something that's gonna sit there for 5 years, 4 years.
So won't sit there for that long, but if council doesn't want the stockpile, what council wants.
We put the RFP out to this already, right? The difficulty on that one is we should have discussed this at
I didn't know till this come out, till we got our package.
You say you have 1,000 tons there now?
Approximately, yeah. Not doing any road projects this year, where we planned on doing, a bunch of frost heaves that we've had problems with, and eliminating them off the list, that like I have been in the past years, so.
How many tons you figure you'd use this year?
Well, probably 1,500 anyways, and then, like I said, then we always have some for emergencies. I mean, we got called, like, if you take Bear Creek when it collapsed, take, stone cutters, I mean, that's all filled in with quarry B. I mean,
Would you have the figure from last year, what we paid?
2 years ago.
What we paid? No, it would have been in
I'm
the
just kind of
previous.
guessing how much has gone up in the last.
I have a complete report of how much the gravel's gone up over 10 years, but I don't have it with me.
Okay. Moving, can you guess?
So our argument here is on the 1,500 tons of quarry B. And you say you'll use 1,500 tons this year?
Yeah, because we don't have any road projects, so we'll, we're gonna be doing frost heaves and like I said, culverts, I mean, we got a lot of issues with culverts around here. We just.
Well,
We just become aware of, like Stiller Side Road, all those, about 4 of those big pipes on Stillers are done.
I'd say we go ahead with it. If we're gonna use this up, that leaves us 1,000 tons in stock for emergencies, am I correct?
Yeah.
If we're gonna use this 1,500 this year, it makes more sense if we're gonna actually use it this year. To me, anyway.
Any other? And I mean, I can see if it's gonna go up in price, that kind of thing, but again, I have no idea how much we use in a normal year. So I guess we see how much we use this year and then we temper that with next year. When we look at the budget again and see if we have, 1,000 left. If we have 1,000 left, then we've used the 1,500 from this year, correct? That sound right?
I guess in the future, maybe put a limit at what we should have at the yard
Stock limits, yeah, that would make sense.
in the future.
Those are all
It's pretty
things.
hard now to,
Well, you've passed your budget.
Yeah.
That's,
you asked everybody to quote on it.
but I think we can make the note and look at that for future. So that in case, there is an excess. So we can avoid that in the future. So I think that's a good point. And we'll look at that as we move ahead. So are there any other comments or questions? So then I'll call for a vote. All in favor? Okay. And it's carried. But we will note that for the future. And we'll move on. The next one, I need a mover and a seconder for,
Actually, we should mention for number 9.
okay, number 9, the award tender for the culvert reline on Hart. Nobody
No bids were received.
replied, so we'll have to reach out to individual.
I have reached out to the individuals that are doing, stone cutters in Bear Creek,
Is it the same or two
Yes.
different?
same company.
Okay. They may or may not.
They're interested, they missed it, the estimator missed it. When we sent the email, he just missed it in the email.
They're interested though?
So we're gonna try and line it up so that we do all 3
Right,
around the same time.
perfect. Because we need that one done.
Yep.
We need them all done. Okay, so we'll move her to seconder. Okay, Counselor Foot, Counselor Scott. You. It's number R 2024-120, moved by Counselor Foot, seconded by Counselor Scott, that we award tender Nipissing Public Works 2024 for reseal of 3.5 kilometers Birch Grove Drive to Duncore Enterprises. Total tender price $110,339.42, including applicable taxes. All in favor? Carried. Okay. Oh, one here, I thought mine was here.
Yeah, we didn't put our letter there. Same resolution.
Okay. I need a mover and a seconder. We're at accept resignations from Nipissing Township. Counselor Kirky and Counselor. What? It's number R 2024-121, moved by Counselor Kirky, seconded by Counselor Foot, that we accept the resignation of myself from the Township of Nipissing Recreation Committee, and we accept the resignation of Nora Jackson from the Nipissing Township Museum Board. Nora wrote a lovely letter, and we in turn have written her a letter thanking her for our gratitude for her hard work and dedication to the Nipissing Township Museum. And we hope that she continues to join us for events. We look forward to seeing you. Thank you again, and we wish you all the best in the future. And for me, they didn't write a letter.
But we thank you for all.
Yeah,
Yes.
make sure you go to
And
soccer
continue
Thursday
support.
night. Yeah,
We'll see you Thursday night.
great, thank you. So, all in favor? Carried. And I did thank Nora when we spoke on the phone. And next, that's why you wanted to come to council tonight, make sure we do it right. Okay, so moved by, second by movers, seconder, okay, we'll go with Counselor Yam and Counselor Foot. Let me read number 2024-122, moved by Counselor Yam, seconded by Counselor Foot, that we appoint Rob Searson to the Nipissing Township Museum Board for the remainder of the council term. All in favor? Carried. Welcome, Rob. And the next one was the longest thing you had to read. If you read it all, it was interesting reading. And that's for shared service agreement for a playground inspector. And we're sharing that with the municipality of Callender. And I need a mover and seconder, and then if we have any questions, Councillor Foot, Councillor Yim, thank you. It's number R 2024-123. Moved by Councillor Foot, seconded by Councillor Yim, that we pass bylaw number 2024-28, being a bylaw to authorize an agreement between the Corporation of the Township of Nipissing and the Municipality of Callender for playground inspection services. Read a first, second, and third time and passed this 28th day of May 2024. Any comments or questions? Yes.
They have an inspector in Callender,
Yes,
a municipal employee?
yes.
Oh, okay.
And he's trained. And this way it's arm's length from our staff. So when they do their inspection, it's arm's length.
Any other questions? All in favor? Carried. Okay, correspondence. Good job, Kim.
Light reading this week.
It was much better this week. And, okay, the first resolution from the Township of Georgina Bay calling on the Ontario and federal government to implement sustainable infrastructure funding for small rural municipalities. That's exactly what the lady said two Fridays ago, that they would be giving us sustainable infrastructure funding. And that's from the provincial government. And this will go on to AMO, where it will be forwarded to the federal government, because they also pointed out the feds need to put some money out there as well. So this becomes an information item because it's gone on to AMO. And so we've already got her assurance that it's coming. We'll see. Next, minutes of the Township of Nipissing Rec Committee. And we've already heard about that. Golden Sunshine, we've heard about that. And minutes of the Town of Parry Sound EMS, we've heard about that. So thank you for that. And like we say at AMO, we will definitely hear about infrastructure funding. So mover the seconder to accept correspondence, yes. Councillor Kirky, Councillor Scott. It's number R 2024-124. Moved by Councillor Kirky, seconded by Councillor Scott, that we accept the correspondence as presented. All in favor? Carried. That's why you left it open. Oh, and we come to a statement of accounts. Thank you, Councillor Foot. So I want you to look over it, but in the meantime, to get it on the docket, I move to seconder. Thank you, gentlemen. So I'll read it and then look it over and see if there's anything that catches your eye. It's number R 2024-125, moved by Councillor Kirky, seconded by Councillor Scott, that the statement of accounts dated May 16th, 24, and 25th, 2024, totaling $142,419.53 be approved. Check it out.
Cat wouldn't cover the excavator.
What's that, the 11,000?
Yeah,
That's the brusher head that we had to get repaired.
okay,
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's all just built under the excavator.
okay. And the calcium really took good, didn't it?
Yeah, it really did. Yeah, it was nice to get it on nice and early. but-
Yeah, yeah.
Gas and oil pump 2, unit 3, gas and oil pump 1, unit 4. Gas and oil, is this an oil change?
Is it for about 200 some odd?
98.43.
Yeah, we did oil changes on the big trucks.
Oh, okay.
That's for the fire department.
Oh, that's been
No,
fire.
Yeah,
that's
fire
your,
department.
it's your grill lights.
On the bill?
That's your grill
Oh,
lights.
yeah, the emergency light replacement.
It's maintenance, it's as well as oil.
It all
Oh, I
goes under,
see.
it all goes
It's all
under the
under
vehicles that they're for.
Yeah, because there were 4 of them at the same price.
Yes.
Okay. All right. That's all I have.
Okay. And the calcium did work when I came across Hazelwood from, and Powassan and Callender then, and I made a point of saying, can you tell the difference?
Yeah, no, it's when we did the LSAS, we laid it on heavy too, and it really tightened it up, yeah.
Yeah, a repair on Bear Creek culvert's good too, nice and solid.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
yeah, it's held up well.
And the culvert repairs will be much later when the water goes down.
Yeah, it's the water that's holding things up. So I'm hoping they're gonna recede now, but next week looks like rain for a week.
Okay. So, all in favor of the statement of accounts? Carried, thank you. Counselor, what if you'd like to join us, rejoin us? Okay, so we're at number 16, confirming bylaw. A mover to seconder, thank you. Counselor Yam and Counselor Foot. It's number R 2024-126. Moved by Counselor Yam, seconded by Counselor Foot. We passed bylaw number 2024-29, being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of council at its meeting held on May 28th, 2024, read the first, second, and third time and passed this 28th day of May, 2024. All in favor? Carried. Now, if you could stay in your chairs a little longer, they might still be warm when we get back next week. Because next meeting is next Tuesday. I need a mover and a seconder. Counselor Scott and, okay, I was afraid we weren't gonna pass this, and I'll stay right through. Number R 2024-127, moved by Counselor Scott, second by Counselor Yam, that the meeting be adjourned at 7:36.
Four.
I like that old clock over there. 7:34 PM, the next regular meeting to be held next Tuesday, June 4th. All in favor?